Today will be without algebra, meaning there's not going to be like x's and y's involved. And then tomorrow we're going to do the same thing again, but with algebra. This stuff will be on your quiz that is Monday. So just so you guys are aware. So go ahead and get your homework turned in. Is this row good?
It's like weirdly
It is. I agree. It looks like it has like a 3D like aspect to it. Huh? No. All right. So let's get started here. So find the measures of each angle. So tell me, what do you know about the angle that is 65 degrees and angle X? What do you know about those two angles? What do they form? If we think back to last unit, what do they form? So they are a linear pair, which means they add to what? So 65 plus X equals 180. So X is 115 degrees. So this is 115 degrees. What do you guys know about angle that is 65 degrees and Y? What is the relationship between the angle that is 65 degrees and Y? What kind of angles are angle that is 65 degrees and Y? Raise your hand. What are they? Go ahead. They are vertical angles. What do you know about vertical angles, Lindsay? So that means that Y is also 65 degrees. So somebody raise their hand and tell me what the measure of angle Z is then. And why? Ian.
It'll be 115 degrees.
And why did you decide that?
Because it's vertical, it goes with X.
Okay. So that's just a little review on that one. So we need to find the angle measure. So we need to figure out what angle CFD is. And we need to find the measure of angle AFB. Those are the missing angles. So somebody raise their hand and tell me how to find one of those angles. So these are the two angles we're trying to find. Tell me how to find one of those angles and how you know. So look at those and see if you can figure out one of those angles and tell me how you know. Don't be shy. These three are going to be my class today. I'm just going to teach these three today because they're the only ones that want to participate. Do you actually know, or are you just waving your hand at me? Which one is it, Lindsay?
Vertical.
What is that one vertical with? It could be. What is that? Is it vertical, or are they making an X together?
Yeah.
Yeah, so are those vertical angles?
Yeah.
So you know that CFD is also 62 degrees. Also, these two form a line, don't they? Is 118 plus 62 180? So that makes sense. Okay, what about AFB? Ian?
Add 62 degrees and 28 degrees and subtract it from 180.
That equals 180, so what he said is correct, right? So he's going to add those together and subtract it from 180. That's exactly what you're doing here. So is the measure of angle AFB is 90 degrees as well. Today is Thursday. So questions on those as we can start our notes today. Do you not see something? Do you need me to help you see something up there? Please let me know. All right. So triangle angle sum theorem. The sum of the measures of an angles of a triangle add to 180 is what this is saying. So all the measures add to 180. So find the measure of angle T. What would you do, Desiree, to find the measure of angle T in number 1?
We'd add 35 and 25.
Good. So triangles add to 180. So you add 25 plus 35. And that is 60. Then what? Then you can subtract it from 180. So the measure of angle T is 120 degrees. Is that a obtuse, acute, or right triangle? What is that one? If you have one angle that's more than 90, it is obtuse, so this is an obtuse triangle. You only can have one angle more than 90, and that one is it. So that's an obtuse triangle, just to bring in those words from yesterday. How could I do number 2? Do you have a question for me, or are you going to help me with number 2? How can I do number 2? Which angle are you going to help me find first?
Angle 1.
You have to start with angle 1, right? Can you start with angle 2 or 3? No, there's not enough information yet. We will get more information once we find angle 1. So just tell me angle 1, don't move on from there, okay? So the measure of angle 1, we know that triangles add to?
145.
Is that, well, the triangle itself.
The triangle itself is 180.
So what did you do to get 125?
Added 85 and 40.
So 85 plus 40 equals 125, okay. Then what do you do?
Then you subtract that from 180.
You subtract that from 180. Is that 55?
Yeah.
So the measure of angle 1 equals 55 degrees. Okay, somebody else. What's the next angle we can find now? What is the next angle we can find, Greg?
2.
Why can we find the measure of angle 2?
Because it's vertical angle, so it's congruent to measure 1, or to angle 1.
Okay, so what is the measure of angle 2 then?
55.
So how can I find that third angle, Cameron? How can I find the measure of angle 3?
Add 55 and 55 and subtract that from 180.
Good. So 55 plus 55 is 110. Subtract that from 180. And we get 70. So the measure of angle 3 is 70 degrees. So let's look at these two triangles here. What kind of triangle is this one? Acute, obtuse, or right? This one's acute. All of the angles are less than 90. How about this one? They're both acute. Do you know that what this type of angle this is by the sides? You could figure this out by the sides. Do you know what this is? What type of triangle do you think this is? It has two base angles that are congruent. So what do you think it is? It's isosceles. So isosceles, there's a theorem that you guys are going to learn later that says if base angles are congruent, their sides are congruent, which makes it, that's like an isosceles triangle theorem. So that's actually isosceles. This one would be scalene because it has different angle measures. The angle measures kind of indicate if it's scalene or isosceles or equilateral. Okay, just so you guys are aware. Next page. So we're going to keep finding those missing angles there. So, Abby, what angle do you want to find first in example 1 there?
1.
How are you going to find the measure of angle 1?
You add 43 to 74 and then subtract from 80.
Good. So 43 plus 74. Is that 137? Have you done it yet? Anybody done it yet? Is that 137 if you add those two together? Did I add right?
107.
Why did I decide it was 137?
Because that's what your brain wanted.
Is it 117, did you say?
107.
Well, you have to carry the 1, so it's definitely 117. There you go. Thank you, guys. This is why you're checking me. So, and then do 180 minus 117. Is that 63? Has anybody done that? Abby, can you check me? Is that 63? Okay, perfect. All right. Kylie, what's the next angle you're going to find?
2.
And why do you know angle 2?
Because vertical, not
Yep, it's vertical to what angle?
1.
Hmm?
Nice.
So they're congruent, so what's the measure of angle 2? It's also 63. Rob,
Oh, no.
how could I find the measure of angle 3?
I don't think I want this.
Yes, you do. So you know that this is 79. We just found out that this is 63. So how can we find the measure of angle 3? What do triangles add to?
What?
Triangles, angles add to. Okay, so how could we find that?
Subtract 180 by 64.
By 63 and? There's two angles in there. So you can't just subtract 63 and.
I don't know.
So you subtract it by 63 and?
79.
Yep, so I'm going to add 63 plus 79, which is the same thing Rob said, but it's just a little bit different here.
It's not.
No, what you said was fine. I'm just going to show it this way. So is that 142? 9 plus 3 is 12. Carry the 1, yep. Okay. 180. Yeah, go ahead. What would you do?
180 minus 142.
Perfect. All right, questions on that one before we move on to the next one there? What does that little square there mean, Iku? So if this, where's my problem? Here it is. If this is 90 degrees, what is this measure here? Why? Why is the other one 90 degrees as well? Can somebody raise their hand and explain to the class? Maybe Carmichael, you can explain to the class. If this is 90 degrees, why does that one have to be 90 degrees?
Because so air and 90 degrees plus 90 degrees.
Perfect. Perfect description. All right, so which angle would you like to find, Logan?
2. Or you.
It's 2 as well, so measure of angle 2, how are you going to find that?
I thought you always have to.
180 minus 120. Because I added 90 to 30.
Good, so triangles add equal 180, so you're using that fact. So 90 plus 30 is 120. That's where he got the 120 from. So 180 minus 120 is 60 degrees. This is a special right triangle. We will be talking about special right triangles at some point in the year before we do trigonometry. And special right triangles make it easy to find the side lengths. Trigonometry. I love trigonometry. Like I said, I struggled with geometry when I was in high school, but trigonometry I do love.
For a month. Geometry.
How can I find the measure of angle 1, Hayden?
Add 60, 90, multiply.
All right. What do those little loops in the angle 1 and angle 2 mean? What do those little loops in angle 1 and angle 2 mean? Those two are congruent, which means they are the same. So how could you find measure of angle 1 and measure of angle 2? Jill?
Well, you could do 180 minus 50, which is 130, and then since angle 1 and 2 are congruent, you could just divide 130 by 2.
They have to be the same, right? So if we divide that by 2, it's 65. So the measure of angle 1 equals 65 degrees, and the measure of angle 2 equals 65 degrees. Since they both have to be the same, you need to divide that, what is left over, by 2. Okay, look at that and see if you have questions for me so far. We're going to be adding X's and Y's and Z's tomorrow to all of this stuff.
So, is it good one?
I mean, I think it's the same like concept, but you guys have to know the algebra behind it, and like a lot of times that means that you have to know which ones to find first, because sometimes there's like x's and y's, but you have to find, like we did like with the parallel lines and transversals. Like sometimes you had to find x to be able to find y.
Are we doing every single thing?
Yes. That is the goal. So the exterior angle theorem says the measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measures of the two remote interior angles. So these are the remote interior, the ones that are not forming the linear pair with the outside angle. So these ones are the ones not angles not forming linear pair with the exterior angle. So if you add those two together, they are equal to that exterior angle out here. So the remote interior angles are equal to the exterior angle. And we'll talk about why. I want you guys to write that down, but let's talk about why. Think about why. I'm going to put a random number in here. So if I know that's 130 degrees, what do I know about this angle here? That is 50 degrees. So what do these two angles have to be split between? What do those two angles have to have measures of together? 130, right? Because doesn't a triangle have to add to 180? So do you see why that's the case? Now, we don't know what those measures are individually, but those two together have to add to be 130. So that's what that's saying. So we're going to look at this theorem. Or we are going to. How many color Crocs do you have? Okay.
I broke one of my pairs though.
Oh,
Like the
sad
side
day.
of it, like.
Well, it is like foam. You're like,
But it was like this part. It's like this thing came off. Like it just snapped in half. So I have to go up to the Croc store and get a new one. It's like $4. I haven't gotten it.
go to that Croc store. I didn't even know they had Croc stores.
Is it about to close? So it's empty closing or something?
Which one?
The one on K.
I don't know.
There's a Croc store on K.
I
Yeah,
used to
it's
have
like, you
almost
know,
every
like the
door in
card
my
outlet
bedroom.
place? Like just the little building. There's like a
Yeah,
Statue
it
of
is.
Liberty.
I
in
just
front
don't
of
know how it has its own stores. Oh, I'm trying
It's been
to.
there forever.
I'm trying to like fathom
And it, like,
why that's a
Every time
need.
there's
Got
like a
all my
new
Crocs.
like big thing out,
And
they
then
like.
I got my
oh,
first
we
pair of
have
Crocs at the
this.
Croc outlet at the Mills Mall.
Yeah,
Which is
there's
terrifying.
like outlet.
There's like 3 stores in there now.
There's
I'm just really proud of you guys for having Crocs. That's all. Anyways,
My mom used to wear them.
I wore Crocs to basketball practice every day, so I didn't have to wear my. And so I didn't have because you can't wear your basketball shoes outside, so that's what I would do.
I just wear them.
Okay, how can I find the measure of angle 1? Ian.
You add 40 and 70 together.
Good. We know that by the exterior angle theorem, measure of angle 1 is the measure of angle C plus the measure of angle D, right? So the measure of angle 1 equals 70 plus 40, which is 110. Are you good? So here's another way you could have solved this problem. You could have found this angle measure here, right? So 40 plus 70 is 110. So 180 minus 110 is 70, right? Do you guys agree with that? This has to equal 180. So 180 minus 70 is 110. So could you have found it that way? The problem is that once we get to algebraic things, you're going to need to know the theorem too. Today you can do that, but when we get to algebraic things, you're going to need to know the theorem. Does that make sense, what I'm saying there? So we're going to try to do it that way first, but I will show you other ways to kind of figure out the answer. All right? So, what is the measure of x? What would we do here? We know that 40 plus x should equal what? 100, because these are the remote interior angles. And then this is the exterior, yes. So x equals 60. Or you could have said, this is 100 degrees, right? So this has to be 80. 80 plus 40 is 120. 120 plus 60 is 180. So just another way to look at that.
Hey, at least he was obvious about it.
Just as obvious as you.
Hey, I don't do it as much.
I'm just staring at you. I didn't say any words. You can think whatever you want to think. You can think however you want to think. I didn't say one word to you. I just stared at you. All right. Okay. Where do you want to start on this one? Tell me which angle you want to find first. Hayden. Okay, how would you find the measure of angle 2?
Add 82 and 28 together.
Good. So 82 plus 28, that's 10, carry the 1, is that 110? So 180 minus 110 is 70 degrees. So notice that I put it inside of the labeling where it is. What do you want to find now? Lindsay, how? Measure, your favorite one, right? Measure of angle 1 is vertical to angle 2. So they are congruent. So what is the measure of angle 1 then, Lindsay?
70.
Well, that one's easy.
Okay, raise your hand and tell me what the next angle you want to find. Somebody tell me the next angle they want to find.
Okay, what is
Carmichael. Wait, go ahead.
congruent sign? What is in front of the congruent sign?
So, the word S-O.
That looks
so.
like go, so I was like,
Go congruent.
like,
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I know, don't worry. I'm really good at writing things. Angle 3. How are you going to find that, Carmichael?
68 plus 70.
Okay, so 68 plus 70 is 138. And then what, Carmichael?
180 minus 138.
Which is 42, I believe. Okay, how do I find angle 4? That's the last one we have. There's a few ways you could do angle 4. What do you see? I see 2 different ways, or kind of 3 different ways, I guess. Logan?
You could have 68 and 42.
So, you're using the exterior angle theorem, right? So we know that these 2 angles are the remote interiors. And angle 4 is the exterior. So they have to add to that one. So 68 plus 42 equals 100, not 180, equals measure of angle 4. So the measure of angle 4 is 110. Does anybody else see a different way they could have done that? Cameron?
180 subtract 70.
Yeah, these are a linear pair, right? So if you saw the linear pair, you could have also done it that way. All right, questions there before we do the last example?
I'm actually like partially understanding maybe 2 of the things. So you know like how there's 4 angles?
Yeah?
I think I'm understanding how to do 2 of them.
Okay, that's hopefully by the end of the next example you understand all of them. Anybody have their construction portfolios, by the way? I need to look at them still, and just in case any of you that turned them in need to redo anything, so I'll do that. All right. What angle, and guys, you can find an angle that is not even marked if you want to. So if you want to find an unmarked angle, just let me know. Does that make sense? Even though you don't have to find it, it can help you find something else, all right? So what angle do you want to find first? Somebody raise their hand and tell me what they want to find first. Yeah. You just love those vertical angles, don't you?
I know.
We need to find other things too. So these are vertical, so what is angle 6? Ian,
Go to the angle that does that congruent.
which one of these?
That one?
This one?
Yeah.
What is that one?
That one's 60.
Yep, that's why.
And then you would, that would be vertical angle on 4.
Yeah, so why is this one 60 first?
Oh, because 180 or 120 and 160 got
So linear pair first, right? With 120, and then you said that this is also 60 because of vertical angles, right? Okay, somebody give me another one they want to find. Remember, we can do other angles to get to them, so it's okay if it takes us a few steps to get there. Carmichael.
2.
Angle 2? How are you going to find that?
It's 60 because it actually doesn't have to be 60.
No, it's not 60, actually. How could we find that, though? Do you know? What angle could we find to help us find angle 2? It's an unmarked angle, though.
One right there.
This one? Yeah, so how could we find this angle here?
50 plus 78.
Okay. All right.
And 180 minus 120.
Okay, so what's the measure of angle 2 then? Raise your hand and give me another angle. Somebody raise their hand. Kylie.
5.
Okay, what's the angle 5?
Well, you have to do like I did. Figured out the other angles.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you figure out that angle?
I added 60 and 56 together and then subtracted it by 180.
Okay, so that's 64 degrees. So then what did you do?
So then I subtracted that by 180 and got 160.
You could have also just used the exterior angle theorem, right? And just added these together from the beginning, right? Because that's the remote, but it works the same way. Okay, we still need 1 and 3. Does anybody know 1 or 3? Helena.
3.
Okay. Triangles add to 180. So how did you find that?
52 plus 60.
Okay, so that's 112.
And then subtract that from 180.
So that is 68. Okay, last angle. Who's going to tell me that last angle there? Abby. So you can use the remote exterior angle theorem. So you said this is 50 plus 78, which is 118. Or you could use the fact that it is a linear pair. We'll give you the same thing. We did it.
Do you have a bobby pin? Weird question.
What?
Do you have a bobby pin?
No, what did I just do? Let me look in my drawer in just a second. Sorry.